Hey fellow founders, this is Anatoly from CX Dojo here, and this is our Technology Corner, where we question things that became normal these days and see if there is anything we can optimize. Today we're gonna talk about the outsourcing of your product. And you may be wondering why anyone would need another video on outsourcing. Honestly, I don't know myself. This video is not quite about outsourcing, at least not in the usual way. In this video, I want to show that it's time to rethink the traditional approach to outsourcing and make it harder, better, faster, stronger. So why do we even have outsourcing phenomenon? There are multiple reasons why a company may decide to shift their routines for outside, like lower the costs or access to a larger talent pool, yada yada yada. And it brings tons of value to the business, but there are also some downsides. And I don't want to mention the service of a questionable quality, I mean different kinds of issues. Let's imagine this group of people is the board of directors that's working on achieving the company's goal. At some point, say the marketing team needs more engineers' attention than the company can afford, so they decide to hire a remote team to do the work for them. Immediately, with the extra development power, they receive two downsides. Remote people are somewhat less productive for the product than they could have been if they knew the bigger goals. They're limited by the scope of the sub-projects they were asked to build, and if they knew why they were really hired, they would be able to suggest a more optimal solution. But that is somewhat tolerable, because remote team is most likely less expensive than local resources. Availability of the additional resources kills the team's creativity. The global crisis, when companies have to optimize themselves in order to survive. The team doesn't have to be creative anymore to meet their milestones. But we've all seen successful distributed teams who outsource, which means they do something that is worth adopting. For an engineer like me, the answer is quite simple. All we need to do is to keep the pros and remove the cons that I mentioned previously, which, in my opinion, we have to do three things. First, make remote workers as effective as internal ones. Easy, right? Second, as strange as it seems, keep the need for internal optimization. It doesn't matter how it's achieved, but it will bring some fresh ideas to the business. And finally, we have to support the optimization initiatives that are coming from the team. It doesn't matter internal or remote. Okay, enough theory. What should we really do? With the third item, everything's clear. Just treat remote workers as internal ones, give them same privileges, listen to what they say, and allow them to experiment. The second item is more or less easy to achieve. If business is growing, it most likely lacks some resources and has to optimize itself. So before hiring another expert, try to brainstorm and see where you can optimize. The first item is the hardest one because it brings more questions to the table than the answers. Can you imagine that after the all-hands meeting where the CEO updates everyone on the business metrics and highlights the future goals and the current problems, a guy from the remote engineering team writes to his marketing colleagues, then two of them engage a salesperson into their group and come to a manager with an idea? If yes, you don't have to change anything, your process is close to ideal. If not, let's think how this can be achieved. There are multiple variables to this equation. Team responsibilities, motivation, the amount of individual initiative, the corporate culture. All of these are somewhat weak and uncertain, but still, we can apply some rules to identify if we are there or at least moving in the right direction. What if the client turns to the dev team not just with a list of features or a to-do list, but with a particular problem that needs to be solved? I'm not saying that you have to transfer the entire control to the team that will work on your project. What I mean is changing the way customer teams collaborate. The walls between sales, marketing, development should dissolve. One of the rules software development outsourcing is to deliver a product or a feature faster. But usually, a focus on speed causes teams to devolve into a group of individuals focused on their own contributions rather than collaboration. Such an approach may yield a functional product, but let's be honest, it won't produce a viable product. Rules are a good start, but you should break them when you need them. We think the product must be the core DNA of the process. Obvious, right? But what does it mean? It means when we make all project decisions, we should think about how it should affect the product, which means that everyone should understand the how part. You see, everyone involved in creating a product is a maker of some kind. Becoming a product-led is a process and journey requiring a mindset shift at individual and company levels. It takes time, effort, and commitment. And two important keys to this formula are collaboration and the initiative. Successful collaboration starts with the common data, common language, and common goals. This is the essence of the product-led approach. Instead of keeping different departments separate, it encourages collaboration between every team by placing the product at the center of the business. Each team's goal is to make the product delivers maximum value to the customer and the business. By tying together each team with the common thread of the product, a product-led strategy promotes a much deeper level of cross-functional collaboration. This can help remove silos and reveal unexpected benefits for both the company and its customers. How can teams become more intentional about collaborating? I'm so glad you asked. Collaboration happens in just about every organization, but not every organization has a collaborative culture. So, what's the difference? Culture tends to be invisible. We don't notice it because it's just there all the time, kind of like the air we breathe. Here's a typical situation. A business owner has created a task and the team started to work on it. That's an example of a bad company culture. A great example is a Spotify with its product squads. They work in a small cross-functional and well-organized team. These people have end-to-end responsibility for the stuff they build, design, commit, deploy, the whole thing. Because squads are permanent. Team members get to know each other well, developing a chemistry and a team shorthand that can speed the work. So, how this approach can be applied to outsourcing? In fact, it all depends on the company culture. You just need to create a model where a vendor and the client are one team. Perhaps initially it may seem like a daunting task, but believe me, it's easier than it sounds. The transformation of a mediocre team into a highly effective team that really delivers results starts now. And here's what we need. Okay, enough yada yada. Here are 4 simple rules you can apply to turn towards being a product-led company. First, find the right vendor who shares the same product principle. How you can achieve it? Simply by paying attention to what questions your potential vendor asks. If most questions are related to the product UX, release dates, product post-release support, maintenance, user scenarios, then it's your guy. A vendor interested in long-term cooperation and product success will be more focused on the future of this product rather than on a daily task. Second, put problems in front of the personnel rather than set tasks and goals for them. Third, motivate all people to contribute to the product and reward them for doing that. What does it mean? It means that the team decides locally instead of the bunch of managers. Sure, there is a leader, but the leader's job is to communicate what problems needs to be solved and why. and the team collaborates to find the best solution. And the last one, allow the team to experiment. I already mentioned it previously and would like to remind you the importance of the experiments. In my experience, the only way to encourage the team to be more innovative is to shift from a static best practices mentality to a dynamic laboratory mentality, and to make each team member, not the manager, responsible for the results. That's all for this episode. I hope it helped you look at the outsourcing from a different angle. Thank you very much for watching, and let's create something awesome together. Bye bye.